Hey Ramblers, before we kick off today's episode, thank you for even taking the time to listen to the podcast. We appreciate it. If you love the podcast, toss your 2 cents in using the hashtag Let's Ramble and make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all the latest content and updates. Visit us at our new website at offsource.tech and make sure to follow us across all social platforms at Assistance HQ. Now let's ramble. And now, a moment from our sponsor. Hey Ramblers, welcome back to another episode of The Ramblings. I'm your host, Angelo Roberts Jr., and today we do not have Benjamin Hester. It's August 10th, and we haven't done a podcast in over a month. We ended the last podcast on like July 3rd, July 2nd, and we've had a lot of things going on. We have had so much progress, so many hurdles that we've been overcoming, and we're extremely excited. So it's only me today. Benjamin is pretty busy. I'm actually doing the podcast today. So just a bunch of updates, getting some things that I kind of want to go over. So we are officially incorporated. If you guys don't know, we are officially incorporated. We have raised $100,000 in funding. And we're currently in the process of now going to receive our first check. And we're trying to, get equipment, get set up, move into some small marketing, dabbling, I'd call it data marketing because it's marketing for the purpose of gathering data. And if we gather clients, we gather clients, but we primarily want to see what happens when we spend a certain amount of money in the data that we can collect from using that money. Things have also changed greatly in my life. Benjamin, as you guys know, was moving to Los Angeles and is officially a Los Angeles resident now. I am on my way to Vegas. Going to be moving to Vegas soon. Then I'm going to be moving out of the country, as you guys know, because I want to move out of the country. But life has really gone on the up and up for me, especially since the beginning of the year when you guys have been starting listening to the podcast. I'm extremely excited for the uptick in what the future holds. It's literally the rest of the grind of 2020. I told everyone I was coming out of coronavirus a much stronger person. So that's really the goal that I've been trying to attest to and stay to, especially this for the entire year. So things for Angelo's Assistance of America, now called OffSource. As you guys know, we are officially OffSource, incorporated as OffSource too. So it's been a crazy ride. I did not think that I'd get to this point this fast at this particular, point in my life, but here we are. And it almost makes me feel, I talked about it on my live. And so for those of you that watch my live, you guys know, but I talked about how I feel like life is like soccer. I played soccer in high school, junior and senior year. I played it in middle school too, a little bit here and there. But the reason I say that it's like soccer is because you don't get any timeouts. In life, you don't get to pause and say, hold on, wait, stop. And then time stops. No, time, even when you want to say, I'm going to take a break and find myself and pause, and you're going to put a pause on your life, you have to realize that when you put a pause on your life, you're putting a pause on the actions you're taking in your life. You're not actually putting a pause on your life. Because when you put a pause on, time still moves. You're continuing forward. So if you're continuing forward and you don't have an opportunity to actually get a timeout, like if you were in basketball or football, where you can say, oh, timeout, hold on, let's correct things, and the clock stops. In real life, you don't have that, just like in soccer. Also, in soccer and professional soccer, you only get 3 substitutes. And there's 12 people on that field at that time. Or 11. I don't remember really right now. But just with 3 subs, that means there are going to be at least 7, 8 people that don't get a sub, meaning they're in there for the entire time. So you have to learn to do what we call a recovery run. So in soccer practice, we would do a 15-minute, sprint, followed by a 5-minute back pedal, and then a recovery run. And the purpose of the recovery run was to continue moving your body and train yourself for the situation of when you're in the game, not being subbed, playing a continuous running sport up and down the field at a high pace for 40 minutes, 20 and 20. And when you're in the pro leagues, it's 80 minutes, 40 and 40. So you have to condition your body to perform for 80 straight minutes at a high pace. And the way you do that is that when you're on the field, you have to do what is called a recovery run. So that recovery run basically is like a jog or a paced run at which you're expelling less energy than you're gaining. And you've trained your body to gain energy while still expelling energy. And so your body is able to gain more energy than it's expelling. Therefore, you're technically recovering while still moving and going ahead. And that applies to life, because you have to be able to say, hold on, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to go at this at a slower rate, but I'm still going to move forward. You can't stop. You have to continue slowly moving forward. And I've said this before on my live. I don't know if you guys are watching the lives or anything that I'm doing on Facebook. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on LinkedIn. So I'll be chopping up those lives sometimes when I feel like I like things and putting them on LinkedIn. However, I was saying that when you're scared, it doesn't mean to stop. And I was talking to my mom about this. When you're scared, it doesn't mean stop what you're doing. It means slow down and proceed with caution. Because when you stop, nothing gets done. And when you're scared, it can stop you from doing things. But you have to overcome that fear and say, you know what? It's not that you stop. It's not that fear makes you stop. It's that fear makes you move slower. Proceed with caution, because that's your body saying you need more practice. You need to be more confident. And so at your level right now, you need to move at a slower pace as to not mess up. So that's why I'm like, that really makes sense. And so when you're in life, going through life, and you're scared, that means you have to slow down. That's when you do your recovery run. That's when you, okay, I'm going to expel less energy than I'm recovering, because I'm going through this particular time that requires me to go a little bit slower. So I'm going to proceed with caution. And it was just a thought that really just kind of occurred in my head and clicked with me. And so it really leads me into wanting to talk real quick about how everything you do affects your life. Because when you're running and you have to pace yourself, if you don't properly pace yourself during certain parts, you're going to be exhausted towards the end of the game. And so if you're exhausted towards the end of the game, and the end of the game is the most crucial part, and you went all out 100% all game, but you just don't have that last little bit towards the end, and just people need you to have it. And so you feel like it's not fair because you expelled all of this great energy. However, you expelled it at the time that wasn't necessarily the most important, which is why it's important to remember to pace yourself. And so in life, you have to make the decision to pace yourself. That's what I'm trying to, I hope, clearly get across. You have to pace yourself. And those decisions that you make that correlate with pacing yourself would be things like, hey, maybe I should stay an extra year in my hometown to save up a little bit more money. That's pacing yourself. You don't need to immediately move out of the house right now. You don't immediately need a car right now. Now, you may need a car. However, do you need the most expensive car? You have to pace yourself, because all of the choices that you make right now are going to affect you later in life. And when it's most crucial, did you pace yourself? And so when it's just important, because I say and so, but I really want to drive home the fact that you're the person responsible. Just like in soccer, the coach only has but so many ways to say, hey, you can do this, and that would be like your parents. They only have but so long and so much to be able to say, do this or do that. So you have to really take your own life into your own hands and effectively make decisions at pace. I think that's going to be like a thing. That's going to be like a little slogan. You have to effectively make decisions at pace. And when you make decisions effectively at pace, you have to think long term. And I understand that not everyone necessarily may have the luxuries of thinking long term, because I've learned in these recent months from my co-founder that thinking long term is a luxury at this point. Because it's scientifically proven apparently that when you are constantly down the face of adversity and you are, so to speak, in the eyes of the barrel, you have a different mentality than someone who's a little bit more comfortable. And that comfortability comes in the ability to have foresight. So you have to learn to train your mind to have foresight in the times of adversity. Like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, ice in the veins in the clutch moments. That's why it is important to pace yourself. because you have to learn to grow from your mistakes, understand your constants, and learn, grow. So when you're learning and growing from your mistakes, that means you should, the next time a situation like that comes, you're now able to move at a faster pace. But if you're pacing yourself, it's going to be like, oh, dang, I'm only moving but so fast. So you have to love your grind. I'm dropping a lot of gems. I hope you guys are really taking note. You have to love your grind. And I know I've talked about that before, but you have to really understand when I say you have to love your grind, because when you pace yourself, it's slower than going all out and trying to like burn out, basically. You have to love your process, your grind, whatever it is that you're doing. You have to love the steps that it takes to get there. Because if you don't love the steps that it takes to get there, you're not going to, one, appreciate getting there, and two, it's going to make it so much harder for you to even get there to begin with, because you're going to burn out, and people don't produce effectively when they're burning out. So you have to love your grind. And so all in all, I'd like to just tie that in and say I'm loving my grind. 2020 has been an amazing year to me, excluding the coronavirus situation. But you have to really love what you're doing. I'm loving what I'm doing, and I'm loving the process, and I'm loving that I'm able to bring you guys along with me. So I'm out. That's what I have to say for you guys. I hope that you guys have it. What I said resonated. I love you guys.
Hey Ramblers, before you go, make sure you're following us on social media at Assistance HQ across the board for all content and exclusives. And for an even more personal touch, subscribe to our weekly newsletter with the link in the description.